Hello, brothers and sisters, and here we are for our Holy Thursday reflection to go with our Holy Thursday readings and our prayers. And we're thinking about this as the entrance into the Triduum. The 3 days are of our most holy time during this Holy Week. This evening we celebrate Holy Thursday, or as we say in the Anglican tradition, Maundy Thursday, M-A-U-N-D-Y, which is short for mandatum, or a modification of that, which means the law. And so we're thinking a lot about the law that Christ has given us. The law, the invitation, the mandate of what we're supposed to do to recall this particular evening, this particular day, a time when Christ sat down and celebrated a meal with his friends. In the Synoptic Gospels, the Gospels of Mark and Matthew and Luke, this particular night is the Seder, or the Passover meal. It's the time that they come together as a family of faith, and they celebrated this meal as many had done for many years before that. In the Gospel of John, which our reading comes from, it's a different time. It's a time of the night before, and it's the night before the meal, before the Passover meal, the Pascha meal. And this particular night in Jesus' story, and in Jesus' time in John's Gospel, has much more focus on some other elements, not just the institution of the communion, what we would call the sacramental communion, the sharing of the bread and the sharing of the cup, and the transformation of that in terms of its importance to us into the body and blood of Christ, which is very much a part of our tradition, as it is many Catholic traditions, the Roman Catholic Church, the Eastern Orthodox, certainly the Anglican Church, and of course our church and our Lutheran brothers and sisters, and many others who hold that particular understanding of what that meal and that commemoration means. But in this Gospel of John, there's something else that's happening that's equally important, and that is the invitation for a switch in where we stand, a change in hierarchy even, a change in role, and a change in relationship. Jesus invites his friends to sit down, and he kneels at their feet, and he washes their feet. For me, this Holy Thursday is going to be a real absence, because one of my favorite moments in the church year is that moment where I get to symbolically kneel before my parishioners and those people who are gathered in our congregations, and I wash their feet. This is a very strange thing for Americans. We don't like to necessarily have anybody take a subservient position to us. We love the service industry, obviously, and they're certainly experiencing a great deal of challenge and pain during this COVID crisis. But this moment of servant and servanthood is exactly what Jesus is inviting us to be. And it turns everything over on its head. Essentially, what Jesus says is, in order to lead, one must serve, a servant heart. And he actually pushes it all the way into the realm of slavery, or slave. We do not like the institution of slavery. We detest it. We have upended it. We recognize it still exists in our world, but nobody would say that slaves are a good thing. And yet, according to Amy Jill Levine, whose book I am reading during this Passion Tide, on entering the Passion of Jesus, she says it's important for us to recognize that when we offer ourselves to another in service, as a slave to another, when we offer that, not when it's imposed, never when it's imposed, but when we make that choice to serve someone else, we actually liberate them in a very special way. We give to them our service. We do for them so that they may do other things for themselves. And Jesus washes the feet of his disciples, and he says to them, "You're clean. You are clean. You are free. You are reconciled. You are welcomed into my life, into my ministry." So when we talk about this Holy Thursday, we think a lot about how it reflects our celebration of our common meal, which I so look forward to celebrating with all of our congregation and friends in the future. But it also invites us to think about ourselves as servants of others. What can we do for others? How can we serve one another? How can we step down from places of power, places of control, and simply do for someone else? Certainly in this time, we're invited to do that with prayer. We're invited to do that by staying home and not interfering and allowing everything to work through its way, and to allow our healthcare workers to manage the crisis that they see in front of them. And there will come a time when we will once again be able to, in person, face to face, serve one another and give to one another and provide for one another. So as we continue in our Holy Week observation, as we continue on our Triduum, let's be thinking about the ways in which, once this crisis is over and we can again come into contact with one another, how we might best contact one another in a sense of servanthood. Brothers and sisters, God's blessing be on you, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow.